What's up, world? This is your guy, Guitar K, and today we're going to be talking about priorities, man. Look, we're going to be talking about prioritizing your needs over your wants. Because look, man, when you're only focusing on what you want, you get into a point of where you're always chasing, you're always running. And when you're only focused on what you want, you start to become ungrateful. You start neglecting your needs. You start to not noticing the things that you already have. You start neglecting the things that you already have. And like I said, man, you become ungrateful. And the crazy thing about being ungrateful is a spirit. So no matter what you have, look, check this out, man. Check this out. You could be a millionaire. And if you're ungrateful, that thing could drag you down to the ground. Look, no matter what you have, being ungrateful, if you add anything to a state of ungratefulness, it ain't going to curb, man. Look, learning how to be ungrateful comes from the inside out. Look, man, look. We got to practice gratitude. Practicing gratitude should be a priority. Look, man, we talking about priorities. So to set this thing off right, let's look at the definition of priority. Because like I always say, it's crazy how people will say that they know what a thing is, but when you ask them the definition of it, they're going to give you what they think it is. And it's a lot of times it's not true. Look, man, we got to know what we're talking about today. Look, we need to be spot on, especially with something as important as priorities. I think that's why a lot of times we put our wants before our needs because we don't quite know what a priority is. Let's look at the definition, man. Priority, the fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important. More important. Look, man. Look. I say this because for so many years, I put pleasure was at the top of my list. I was the type of person who always focused on doing what I wanted to do. And I would neglect the things that I needed to do. And where did that lead me? If the walls could talk, look, man, it led me into running into brick walls. It led me into doing face plants on the cement. Look, man, look. Today, my main priority is doing what I need to do. Look. And if doing what I need to do don't leave me with enough time or money or resources to do the things that I want to do, I can accept that. I'm good with it because I realize that life is about doing what you need to do, not what you want to do. It's about getting your priorities in order. It's about, you ever heard terms like first things first or do the next right thing or what's the most important thing on your list? Do you even have a list? Making a list should be a priority. Making a list of priorities should be a priority. Because look, man, when we just out here running blindly, not knowing, some people don't even know what the most important thing to them is. Some people don't even know that. Do you know what's the most important thing to you? How high is your health up on your list? You know what I'm saying? How high is your education up on your list? And I'm talking really, because you can say it, but when you look at your actions and you look at your habits, that will tell the true story. Because lip service, just saying that, yeah, I prioritize my health. Yeah, I prioritize my safety. I prioritize my knowledge and education. Just saying it, that's not going to cut it. I'm saying this because I used to say these things. But when I look back on my actions and what I was doing, I was crazy to even say that out of my mouth, because in no way, shape, or form was those things high up on my list because of the things that I was doing. I was putting everything under the sun above my safety because of what I was doing. I was putting everything in front of my priorities, man. So today we got to get ourselves in order, man. We got to learn to prioritize needs over wants, because we can be blinded by our wants. And like I said, when you get blinded by your wants, you start neglecting your needs. Look. When I hear the word priority today, and like I said today, because it wasn't always this way, man. Look, my mental health is a big priority. My recovery is a major priority. My physical health is a major priority. And when you truly adhere to those things, it's certain things that you're just not going to do no more. It's certain things that you're just not going to be around no more. It's certain things that you're just not going to allow to be in your life. when you really start to prioritize these things. And like I said, it's not just about talking about it. It's about really, sticking to it. It's talking about self-control. I'm talking about discipline. When your priorities are really, really priorities, your life going to change. Your life going to change. Your circle going to change. Your friends going to change. Your speech going to change. Your actions going to change. And what will this change? This will really change you from the inside out. I'm not talking about like I did the video the other day. I talked about integrity. When your priorities change, your integrity will really change, because you're not just doing it for a show. You're not just doing it to be seen as doing something good. When your priorities are really changed, you're going to do it regardless, because you know that it's really benefiting you. Look, man, changing your priorities will send you in a whole different direction from what you used to go. We all know the saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. One of the major things that you got to start off with is changing your priorities. Look, man, focus on your spiritual growth. So for so long, all I focused on was the outside. My spiritual growth was at a standstill for years. It was in regression, because I was brought up in a spiritual household. I was brought up to water my spirit. I was taught the fruits of the spirit. I was taught to be kind. I was taught to be patient. I was taught to be gentle. I was taught to practice long suffering, to understand that you can't get everything you want. But all of that went in one ear and out the other. And I was ripping and running crazy in the world looking for instant gratification, practicing sinful natures on purpose. Now, like I said, we all know that nobody's perfect, but that's not an excuse to be just running head first into sin every day, knowing where it leads you. Look, man, we got to prioritize our lives. And once you start to practice these things, the crazy thing about it is that today, my needs and my wants are closer together than what they used to be. Look, I prioritize my physical health. So I like to work out. I want to work out, and it's a need that I work out in order to have good physical health. So you picture like you looking through a sniper rifle scope. And like I said, my needs and wants are not exactly the same thing, but they're in the same scope. So when I'm looking through that sniper rifle scope, I can see both my needs and my wants in that same scope. And it makes the shot a lot easier. I'm not going all the way over here, running all the way over here. Because see, back in the day, I was everywhere. I was all over the place. When your needs and wants are so far off and spread out, you're going to be everywhere, man. You're going to be out of your lane. And that's one thing that I always talk about too. And it was passed down to me from a mentor named Mike Gray. You got to find your lane, man. Get in that lane and stay in it. And when your needs and wants is over here and over there and everywhere, you're not focused. You're not on a single path. Your destiny ain't right. Your purpose ain't right. Your passion ain't right. But you got to prioritize. You got to ask yourself, what do I want out of life? And you got to set all your priorities in the direction of that main purpose and that main passion, man. Look. Like I said, with the demons and stuff that I struggle with, I cannot be a part of what's going on in this world. And the good thing is that by practicing these spiritual principles, I no longer want to. So again, I need to be out of this world and practicing my spiritual principles. And today I want to. That's another example about how it's not exactly the same thing, but it's in that same scope, man. Look. I want to avoid falling into the patterns of this world. Like I said, and I want to, and I need to. My priorities have changed. I don't want the things that I used to want. I don't want to be out here chasing fast women. I don't want to be out here chasing the latest trends and fashions and attention seeking and approval seeking and people pleasing, all the things that I used to do. Today I can sit still and I can be happy and content. Back in the day, I didn't even know what the word content meant. Everything had to be a party. Everything had to be exciting. Today I can embrace just sitting. A lot of times they say that we didn't know the difference between boredom and peace. Today, man, look, I ain't even worried about no words like that. I don't know what boredom is. I don't know what being unhappy or none of that. All I know is that when I follow the certain way and principles and guidelines, that I feel content. That's all I'm looking for. It ain't about bored. It ain't about happy. It's about being content. It's about doing what I need to do. And today I'm okay with just doing what I need to do. And it don't involve ripping and running here and chasing everything all the time. That's where I find my peace at, not chasing. My priority is to not chase. My priority is to not do what everybody else is doing. And I'm comfortable with it, man. Like I said, man, we got to learn to really look at what we need and stop chasing the things that we want. Hopefully you got something out of this. At the end of the day, these videos, I'm talking to this guy right here because, man, I was all over the place chasing what I thought I wanted. And in recovery, we got a term that says 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And of course, we're talking about drugs and alcohol, but I think that same thing applies to wants, man. Anything that you just chasing, that you just think that you gotta have, you think you want, it's never going to be enough of it, man. It's never enough money. It's never enough sex. It's never enough attention. It's never enough of this or that or that. Look, man, focus on what you need. Learn to be grateful. Learn to sit. And of course, them wants, they going to come here and there, and enjoy them in moderation, man. Don't overdo it, man. Just prioritize your health. Prioritize your safety. Just prioritize leaving out the house and coming back in one piece, man. And everything ain't got to be super exciting and party all the time, man. Life ain't about that no more, man. Look, we getting older. We trying to live. We just trying to be safe out here today. Prioritize yourself. Like the old folks used to say, take care of yourself. Make that your number one priority. And everything, that encompasses everything. Taking care of yourself. Make that your number one priority. This is your guy, Guitar K. Be more